Hi, this is Edip. It is 23rd of January. It is 2019. I am with Peter. What's your last name?
DeCelles.
DeCelles. Professor in what area?
In Geosciences.
In Geosciences. Okay, you can see there are maps of the mountains and the world. Okay, I ran to this because I underestimated the parking issue. And I brought him some snacks. You know, I interviewed diverse people. I had interviewed Noam Chomsky twice, but I forgot to take him kind of some related snacks. Leslie Hazelton, I don't know, she wrote a book on Muhammad. I had an interview with her, and but the one that I took him snacks, it was Princeton University professor, math professor John Cohen. He's a legend in math, and but while going to him, I got Turkish delight. You know Turkish delight,
sure.
And also ayran. Ayran means like yogurt with water, like kefir.
Okay. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and they don't go together. But I got both of them for him. He almost finished all the Turkish delight. You know, a normal person finishes it in 1 week or 1 month.
Yeah.
Both of us. It was a beautiful discussion on mathematics and algebra and other issues. But also I interviewed the different people, but from there I said snack is a good one. I brought you some snacks. This is Peter.
This is exciting.
First time we meet, and I don't know about him. He's not a grumpy man. First Chobani, because it is both Greek and Turkish and Kurdish. It connects three of them, you know. The guy is a Kurdish guy from Turkey making Greek yogurt for Americans. Imagine, Kurdish, Turkish, Greek and American.
The American market. Okay.
Yeah, which one do you like?
Oh,
I have this
either
one
one.
and this
Either
one.
one.
Okay, pick whichever it is yours. Okay. And I have spoon for you. And pick one for you, one for me. And then I have also pomegranate juice. It is very delicious. This is not ethnic.
like pomegranates.
Yeah. And this is mine. You don't need to finish it now. I got Turkish apricot. We have only two things from Turkey in whole things. Figs and apricot. And I have this one too for us.
Okay.
You can have it for you.
Well, Edip, I already had my lunch. So
Yes!
I don't need all this
another
food.
time we share it, but this is all we share. This one I will get half, you'll get the other half. This is the date. Medjool. These are very kind of potassium.
Yeah, those are
Good for the brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one is also have, I think, apricot, potassium and magnesium. Anyway, but we're not talking about diet. If my wife watches this one, she will be very angry with me.
Yeah.
Because
you're not supposed to be doing
yeah, she's dietitian. I'm supposed to lose weight.
I'm not. I cannot be blamed for this.
Okay, on the phone we talked, and you know, on some controversial issues, if I like the issue is interesting, I do sometimes YouTube on my own. I have about 70,000 followers there, but some watch many times. And my purpose is to have people, especially young generation, to learn about critical thinking. I teach philosophy and logic, and also create interest in science. Yeah, once I did, for example, egg. I thought about prime numbers through the eggs. You know, the way how I cook eggs according to prime numbers, and then go circles, and then finish all the prime numbers, and then anyway. Today I would like to talk with Peter about the controversy recent in Turkey. I don't know why such issue become controversy. About mountains, their role in creating earthquake, or whether they create earthquake, or whether they are product of earthquake, or also whether as a product they also slow down the earthquake as act like a bumper. On the phone we talked, you gave me some very interesting information which I didn't have, therefore share with us about 5-10 minutes about mountains. I may interject once a while if you don't mind.
Sure.
You can be upset with me. You can stop me anytime you
No
want.
problem.
Okay. Consider me as your student here,
Okay.
trying to learn,
All right.
but a little bit hyperactive
A
student.
hyperactive student.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah.
I wish we had more hyperactivity. Most of our students seem to be completely in a coma.
I'm curious, extremely curious.
Well, okay, so mountains mountains are, first off, I would say mountains are generally a result of earthquakes.
Okay.
Earthquakes are involved in building mountains, but earthquakes and mountains together are just symptoms of a larger thing that's causing both.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that's causing both is the convergence together of Earth's tectonic plates. And as I imagine you know and most people know, the surface of the Earth is divided into about a dozen major plates that are quite thin, but very, they're sort of like, you can think of them as large fragments on an eggshell.
Okay.
Okay, and the thickness of them is actually, compared to the rest of the Earth, is kind of analogous to the thickness of the eggshell to the rest of the egg. Yeah.
Egg is kind of
they're very thin.
very seems similar. There is
There's a yolk.
inside the
That's
yolk.
right,
It looks
that's
like
right.
magma right inside.
Yeah, it's
the
more-
layers of egg, even ellipsoid. Some eggs like
Yeah, it's
the
quite. It's
ellipsoid.
kind of analogous.
Very
Yeah,
analogous.
yeah,
Beautiful
yeah.
analogy.
It's a nice layered fluid,
Yeah,
basically,
yeah.
with a rigid, brittle
Yeah.
surface
Okay.
surrounding it. That's basically what the Earth is, and so that rigid, brittle surface is up to about 200 kilometers thick.
Okay.
And the
Yeah.
radius of the Earth, right, is a little more than 6,000
Okay,
kilometers.
I'm sorry. I need it.
So,
I later learned this is not a. People do not like it. This music
The
from
music
Turkey. Yeah,
scares
when
them?
they watch it. No, this music somehow one of the best music. It got notoriety because of one of the movies. I don't have no idea. One of the groups, and I like it by random. It came to my phone. I saw it as a clip. I pick it. I like it.
yeah.
And people sometimes on YouTube you say this is not a good music.
Weird.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. We are talking about mountains.
I don't have that problem.
Oh, you still use that one? What is that?
That is...
Oh my gosh, he
This
is
is
an
a
archaic guy. Show me. This is like dinosaur.
This is a magic machine.
I love that.
I can go anywhere with it.
I love that.
But most important, nobody can bother me.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
we can have our yogurt if you wish. That would be. You are from Greece, correct?
I'm from. I'm actually. Well, I mean, my family is from
Greece.
Belgium.
Oh, Belgium.
Yeah.
Oh, why in the world I thought that
We're
have.
from near the town of. There's a little village called Celle,
Okay.
in southern Belgium, right on the French
Oh,
border.
okay, you have nothing to do with Greek.
Nothing.
I thought that you had Greek connection. I brought you this
Why-
yogurt.
Why would I
Yeah.
have Greek connections? Huh? Did I say
I
something?
don't know. I thought
Maybe I
that,
said something on the phone.
on the internet, perhaps I confused you with another Greek
We have
professor.
another guy in the department who
Maybe
does
I-
a lot of work in Greece.
Okay.
George Davis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, tell us about whether mountain also act like a bumper also, both as a product.
Well, yeah. Let me finish the
Yeah,
line
yeah,
of
yeah.
metaphor
Okay,
that I was
okay.
using before. So you have this eggshell basically, and it's broken up into fragments, and those fragments are moving with respect to each other.
Okay.
More or less randomly.
Okay.
Through time, and some of those fragments are moving apart from each other, and that's a place where you can think of the egg white welling up to the surface to fill the gap, and that's places where new crust is being created. That's usually in the mid-ocean ridges,
Okay.
in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, for example, and out in the deep Pacific Ocean. And then there are other places. If there's material moving apart over here, then somewhere else on the Earth there must be plates moving together.
Okay.
Because it's this constant size. The Earth doesn't appear to be changing size. So there are places where you have plates converging and plates diverging, and other places where the plates are moving side by side, sort of sliding past each other. So those three types of plate boundaries are the places where all the earthquakes take place. Almost all the earthquakes take place at those three types of plate boundary.
And mountains are the product of the convergent.
And mountains, wherever
Layers,
plates, wherever, actually, it's not quite that straightforward.
Okay.
It depends on how you define a mountain.
Okay.
But where plates are moving apart, the hot mantle comes up close to the surface. And because it's hot, it expands literally the volume of the material, the volume of the plates themselves increases by thermal expansion. And so you get a very high ridge of mountains that runs right down the axis of the Atlantic Ocean. And it's 2,000 meters high.
Wow.
Above the abyssal plain.
Okay.
It's a big, high mountain.
What about down? Is there mountain? Is it like iceberg? Can we?
That mountain range, well, it's called the Mid-Atlantic Ridge.
Okay.
And it's a place where new crust is being created. An on-land version of that is in East Africa.
Okay.
The East African Rift.
Okay.
Which is also very high.
Okay.
You know, when you compare it to average elevation of continents, it's a kilometer or two higher.
Okay.
So that's a place where, so that's one type of mountain range. The other major type of mountain range is where plates are converging, and that's where you get the world's really big mountain ranges,
like Himalayas over there.
like the Himalayas, Tibetan Plateau, the Alps, the Rocky Mountains, and the Andes.
Okay.
They're all produced by plate convergence.
Okay.
And then you get other mountain ranges that are in Turkey. There are a lot of mountains that are associated with these, what we call strike-slip faults.
Okay.
Places where the plates are moving side by side like that. And the reason mountains form in that environment, you might think, well, that's a place where you don't have much, you know, compression going on. But actually, those faults that form along those transform margins are not always perfectly straight. And when you have a jog in the fault, you have a place where the two plates, in order to get past each other, they have to contract a little bit across that bend. So you see that a lot along the San Andreas Fault, for example. Los Angeles, the big bend in the San Andreas Fault that goes just north of Los Angeles is the cause for most of the really damaging earthquakes in the LA area. So in Turkey, there are two huge strike-slip, we call those strike-slip faults. And there are two big ones in Turkey, one in the north and one in the south.
Yes.
And most of the Turkish landmass is actually squeezing westward, squirting out from between those two strike-slip faults. And they converge on each other. The two strike-slip faults make like a wedge. And Turkey is in between that wedge, and it's moving sideways towards the Aegean Sea.
Okay.
So in the case of places like the Himalaya or the Andes, the big earthquakes are associated with convergence. And there you have a situation where one plate, the two plates cannot both stay up. One usually goes down and the other one goes above.
Okay.
And so in the case of India and Asia, India is we call that process subduction. India is subducting under Asia. And so the result of that is that you have twice the normal thickness of crust in the Himalaya, but also in Tibet. So this big mountain belt right here in southern central Asia, north of India, India is driving north in a direction approximately like that, sort of northeastward, and it's being shoved underneath the Himalaya. The Himalaya is right here, this fairly narrow zone right here, and north of the Himalaya lies the Tibetan Plateau, and that's about 1,000 kilometers wide. Okay. And the average elevation is 5 kilometers above sea level. It's extremely high.
Now, the question is, thank you for this information, this background information, whether the mountains also act like bumpers, slow down this convergent motion.
Yeah, when India, we can track the velocity of the plates back through time fairly well by studying the pattern of magnetic anomalies on the seafloor. And so we can take India back to where it was 200 million years ago, and it was nestled in between Africa and Antarctica. Okay, and starting about 120 to 140 million years ago, India broke away from Africa and Antarctica and started
Yes.
moving northward very rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
And at about 70 million years ago, the rate of motion of India slowed down dramatically
Mm-hmm.
by about a factor of 2. It slowed down by about a half. It was the fastest moving plate on Earth.
Wow.
And as soon as it collided with Asia, it slowed down. And then the rocks, the sedimentary rocks on the northern flank of India
Mm-hmm.
got caught up in that subduction zone and started to get scrunched. And so they're acting like a shock absorber.
Yeah, this
or
came to
bumper.
my mind, like a bumper,
Yeah.
shock absorber.
Yeah.
Therefore, that very mass, though it is also a product and also can act as a slowing down the earthquakes.
Yeah, that's exactly what it does. And the deformation that takes place in there involves movement along fault planes. And it's the movement along the fault planes, which fault planes
Yeah.
are just big cracks. And when rocks, there's a lot of pressure on the fault plane, but every once in a while the rocks on either side will slip. When the stress gets high enough, those rocks will slip and they'll move suddenly. Okay, and that's an earthquake basically.
About the size of the mountains, the mass, is it all above the ground or also whether it is below the ground level? For those who are not knowledgeable on this issue,
That's a good
can you
question.
share with us?
That's
Yeah.
a good question. Yeah. In cases like this, cases like the Himalaya, the Alps, the Rocky Mountains, the Andes, any mountain range that's on a big continent, the surface topography has a mirror image on the bottom of
Wow.
the crust and usually also the base of the lithosphere, the boundary between the mantle and the lithosphere, or the asthenosphere. And so it's exactly Archimedes' principle.
What do
in
you mean?
action. It's like the continents are like icebergs.
Wow.
They're floating in the mantle.
Wow.
Okay, so the thicker the continent,
Mm-hmm.
the higher it stands.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about mountain ranges as having roots,
Mm-hmm.
and the Himalaya has a root.
Like a nail, or like a. What's
Actually, the best analogy is Archimedes. Imagine you're on a boat.
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting there in the harbor.
Okay.
You're on a barge,
Mm-hmm.
and you take a measurement on the elevation of the surface of the barge.
Very
right?
interesting.
And then your buddy comes along,
Yes.
your longshoreman buddy,
Mm-hmm.
stevedore,
Mhm.
and he starts loading crates
Mhm.
onto the deck of your
Okay.
barge.
Yeah.
So what happens?
Okay.
Well, the first thing is that the profile of the barge
Mhm.
gets higher, right?
And similarly, it will be.
But the keel of the barge
Yes.
sinks.
I see.
Okay.
Okay.
And so the barge, the weight of the barge is being supported by an opposing force,
Yes.
a buoyant
Of
force,
course.
which is equal to the weight of the water that's
Mhm.
displaced
Mhm.
by the barge.
Okay.
So
Very
that's
interesting.
why we talk about, when we talk about naval
Mhm.
sizes of ships, we talk about displacement, right?
Exactly.
An aircraft carrier is 100,000 tons displacement.
Okay.
That means the water
Mm-hmm.
that it displaces weighs 100,000
Yeah.
tons,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So the continents act the same way.
Very interesting.
And so if you build a mountain range up on a continent like that, then the bottom of the continent has to float lower. So all of the crustal thickening,
Mhm.
it will cause the crust to thicken. Sorry, the crustal shortening will
Mhm.
cause the crust to thicken.
Yep.
And some of that will be expressed as rising elevation, but actually more of it, about a factor of 7
Okay.
higher amount will actually depress the keel
Very
of the continent downward.
Okay.
So mountain ranges have roots.
And then inside the mountains, it is rock. What is the formation of the rock? What is the structure? What is the molecular structure of the rocks?
Well,
Usually in magma.
it's almost these kind of mountain ranges. It's all solid rock.
Solid rock. What is it? Silicium? What is it?
It's made up of these kind of mountain ranges are mostly made up. There are 3 main types of rocks.
Mhm.
There are igneous rocks, which were molten
Mhm.
at some point
Mm-hmm.
and crystallized, and there are sedimentary rocks, which
Mhm.
are layered made of deposited sediment and detritus, and you're familiar with those probably, and they're originally layering is more or less horizontal, and so in mountain ranges that have been smashed together, one of the main things you see is these sedimentary rocks that are just completely contorted and faulted and folded and so on.
Will there be iron also inside the mountains?
Iron, sometimes, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Iron deposits.
Right, yeah.
And the third type of rock is a metamorphic rock.
Okay.
And that's either a sedimentary rock or an igneous rock, or even an older metamorphic rock, which has been changed by pressure and temperature. Okay. So it hasn't melted, but it's been chemically changed. Okay. The constituents have moved around a little bit with respect to each other on the molecular level. So, to get back to your question, what are the rocks made of? In the Himalaya and in most big mountain ranges, the upper levels of the mountains are still made of sedimentary rocks. And as you get deeper and deeper into the mountains, they become igneous and metamorphic. And in the case of the Himalaya, the core of the mountain range is dominated by very high-grade metamorphic rocks. Those rocks they've been pressurized to pressures that are on the order of 14 or 15 kilobars. 1 atmosphere is a bar, right? Okay. So we're talking about 14,000 times atmospheric pressure. So extremely high pressures, and pressures that require a burial down to a depth of about 40 kilometers below the surface. Okay. So if you could drill a hole that deep, that's what the pressure would be. Wow. Okay. Think about another way to think about pressure is imagine the pressure in the ocean. If you go down to the bottom of the ocean, how extreme the pressure would be, right? Of course. Well, now imagine that the ocean is not made of water; it's made of rock. Wow. A lot of pressure. So the pressure is simply due to the weight of the water, right, and the weight of the rocks. So the density is almost 3 times the density of water. Wow. So extremely high pressures, and the temperatures at these depths are typically on the order of about 600 to 800 degrees centigrade.
At what the depth?
At a depth of, say, 30 kilometers.
30 kilometers, yeah, it is pretty high temperature.
So it's not quite molten, but it starts to behave when most upper crustal rocks have a lot of quartz in them, something like 50% or more quartz. And when quartz gets to about 350 degrees, it starts to deform plastically. It starts to flow a little bit. It's not melted, but under stress, it will flow. Beautiful. So and that's sort of
these people are
range of conditions.
Yeah, our audience are fragmented. Their mind is attention deficiency. I think it is a very popular disease. Honestly, we are through the phone. We're very distracted, and therefore now we lost many of our audience. Hello, if you are still there.
See, that's why you guys should get one of these.
Exactly.
I have no distractions.
Wow, oh my gosh, I am one of the victims.
You are.
I am on Twitter and stuff. Too much distraction.
All my colleagues, my wife, they're all zombies.
Yeah,
zombies.
I tell my students too. Today I said, "You are zombies." I said, "You walk like this."
Yeah.
With
walking around
virtual,
led by your hand.
Unfortunately. Here is a few questions about rocks. What's your favorite rock, Peter?
My favorite rock?
Come on, you can ask yourself.
I would have to say probably sandstone.
Really? Yeah. Sandstone? Ah.
It's a sedimentary rock. It's made of
grain. It also becomes round and stuff, that kind of one?
Well, it's made of grains of sand. Everybody knows what sand is.
Yeah.
I've been to the beach. Yeah. And what I like about sandstone is that it's made of little fragments of other rocks.
I see.
And so there's much more to a sandstone than just the sandstone
I
itself.
see.
Every single fragment has a history of its own.
They come together
like
a nation.
Yeah, I like that. Nice metaphor. Yeah. So, you can take, nowadays, with the technology that we have for dating rocks, for example, we can separate individual grains of sandstone that are, say, something like a tenth of a millimeter in diameter. Yeah. So very, almost silt-sized material. Take that, and we can put that in a special machine that we have downstairs, which has a laser beam that will that is 10 microns in diameter, and it will zap the grain and produce a chemical analysis of it at the isotopic level. And we can get for example, a uranium-lead age on the grain. We can calculate the age at which that grain formed. So imagine you have a sand, a collection of sand, that's been derived from all these different places on the Earth's surface that all have different ages. And so we can track.
Look at this, guys.
The original.
His eyes are open. We are talking about dull things called rocks. He's getting excited. I love it.
How could you not be excited
about rocks? Well, diamond is a rock.
Diamond's a rock.
And here it is. People are killing each other to get diamond.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Graphite is also a rock. Both of them made of carbons, but one is the harshest one on Mohs scale. The other is the softest one.
That's right.
Both of them made of carbon, but the way they are arranged, the way they connect to each other, the constitution is different. One is...
Well, you take graphite and take it down to a depth of 100 kilometers below the surface.
And then it turns to...
And the pressure will literally cause the carbon atoms to scrunch closer together.
Aha.
So you get these atomic structural reconfigurations of the mineral into a denser form, and that's diamond.
Okay, now we jump from Himalayas to diamonds and stuff, and I'm going to not forget about movies. Can you recommend people here? Yeah, do you have some favorite movies? Recommend. Not necessarily about rocks, but if there are rocks in it, it will be more...
That's good, because all the movies about rocks are terrible. That's a safe generalization.
Yeah.
But if it's a geological movie, it's pretty bad.
Do you have your favorite movie that is...
What is my favorite movie? Oh, man, I have lots of favorite movies.
My favorite movie is My Fair Lady.
Oh, my goodness.
Have you watched that one?
Oh, yeah.
This is great script. Sure. I love it. Yeah. There is humor, there is politics, there is singing, everything is there.
That's a classic.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I don't like about My Fair Lady is the singing.
Really? I love it.
I don't like singing.
I
movies.
love
movies. Movies should not be singing. Okay? Singing should be up on the stage.
I cannot be seen there. People want to see my beautiful face anyway. Well,
you just move it a little.
Well, I am.
Okay,
that's good.
There you go.
Okay, great. Now the question is,
two talking heads.
Yeah, two talking heads. Now, another movie is Shawshank.
Shawshank Redemption?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
That's a good one, because I had been in Turkish prison for a while.
Is that right?
4 years.
Oh,
Therefore, I
4 years.
4 years. Yeah, because of writings, political writings. Anyway,
wow.
That is not related to rocks. Eliminate, delete.
So when were you in prison?
I was young. I was 23 years old at 80s, just 80. There's a military coup. They picked me on the street, put in prison, 3.5 years. Half year later, total 4 years. Yeah, there was 1 year torture, honestly. Every day there was physical and psychological torture, but I survived. There is something crazy about me. That's because of those torturous Turkish guards. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm glad here. I came here for my freedom, absolutely. And I know we talk about rocks and stuff. Do you have kids?
I have two pretty much grown daughters.
Did they become anyone geologist?
One of them, actually, she was just across the hall a little while ago. She is an undergraduate.
Are you serious?
At the University
you have your daughter studying here? I would love to.
Okay, I'll go get her.
Come on, go get her. I want to see her. Okay, I ask a question. This is a human being, not a rock. He has kids, and one of them is here, a student. Yes, come on here. Be a good example, girl.
Let's come over here.
Come on, I want to have some question for you.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is the interview seat.
Hi.
Hi.
This is Edip. Come here, sit. Replace your father.
This is Edip.
Yeah, my name is Edip. And I do some videos. I have a good channel, very quality watchers, but I have diverse issues. Therefore, one of them about rocks. I found your father. He's a great guy. In fact, I fed him some. I thought he was from Greece. Therefore, I got Greek, Turkish, Kurdish, Greek yogurt, but he says he's not Greek.
Why did you think he was from Greece?
I got Turkish apricot, you can have it, and this is dates.
Pomegranate juice.
If you have boyfriend says let's have date, and here is the date. You know, I told my kids, I have two kids like you. You have two kids, correct? The other one is?
The other one is another daughter.
Oh, daughter.
She's a little older.
Yeah, I have two boys, and I told them no alcohol. Never alcohol, never gambling, never profanities. I'm Puritan, no bad words. And then I even spell S-H-I-T, but I don't say it. Honestly. And then one of the guys ate it. Anyway, in Turkey, I'm referring, you have no idea about the story. And then I told them, don't have girls in your life until you finish college. They are landmines. You step on them, they could explode.
Whoa.
Yeah. Anyway, they don't listen to me about this issue, honestly. Therefore, you should not think about boys until you finish college, graduate, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, no parties here. This is a very dangerous place, honestly. There are parties, they destroy themselves. Very smart, brilliant kids come here, join those fraternities, whatever. Your name?
Claire.
Claire. And what year are you in? Freshman?
No, I'm a senior.
Oh, you're a senior. I'm a senior citizen.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
26, so senior citizen on college campuses.
And Claire, what are you studying?
Geosciences.
Can't believe it! You have a good father. Inspired you. My kids did not study philosophy. They did not.
I don't think I inspired her.
Oh, one of my kids studied law because I finished law.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of them studied law, but philosophy, no. Okay, great. And this is such a beautiful thing for you and your father to be in the same area, the same university. This is beautiful. This is unbelievable. Better than rocks.
I'm not sure that she's convinced of that.
Okay.
I think she has her regrets every once in a while.
Really? Why? As a kind of opportunities wise?
Well, he's pretty famous. And I'm not nearly as good at the science as he is, or most of my peers for that matter. I followed a much more humanities track up until recently, so there's a lot that I have to catch up on.
Okay.
Big shoes to fill.
Yeah, but I think having your father is a wonderful advantage you have over many people. For example, my father never counted money, never cared about money, and all my life I am poor. I could make millions of dollars, but I rejected money. I don't really think. Therefore, but if my father was a merchant, it is from childhood you get certain things. Just being exposed to your father talking about rocks and stuff, I hope he took you to some places.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's not an issue at all. It's mostly just like when you grow up on a campus, it's difficult to come back as a student.
Okay.
As your own individual.
Okay.
And that's the only, it's mostly just...
true.
Yeah. Well, explore. You may find it maybe interdisciplinary something, I don't know whether possible. Maybe artificial rocks, I don't know. You may go into construction business, correct?
You can do anything.
Yes, there is a substance science, correct? It's called substance
science?
It's
called material science.
Material science.
Yeah.
Substance science.
Yeah.
Okay,
Substance
material science. Yeah.
Substance science, that's a good one.
Yeah, do you have any experience to share with these people who will be watching you?
Oh, what is I guess what's the theme?
The theme, that's a good question. The theme was we started with the food. And then
my thoughts on what?
The theme, I asked your father the question, it became controversial. I thought it is a good time to introduce people to geology. And youngsters especially. It was about whether mountains act like a bumper to slow down also earthquake. They are the results of the earthquake, whether at the same time they act like a bumper, like absorbing the energy. And your father explained that pretty well. And I don't expect from you. I expect, okay, what about your favorite movies? Your father was a little bit dull in that area. You got C.
He got a C.
I didn't contribute to that.
You didn't agree, then F.
I just thought of my favorite
His
movie.
favorite movies
Which one was your
are
favorite?
Coen Brothers movies.
It's called Repo Man.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
Repo
Repo
Man.
Man.
Are you
I
serious?
have to say that's
Okay,
my
I need to watch that one, Repo Man.
Well, if you don't like obscenities and
I don't. I am a Puritan guy.
okay, if you're a Puritan guy, you probably won't like Repo Man.
Yeah.
It's about
Puritan in case I don't say it.
Okay.
There was only once I made a obscene gesture. It was at European Parliament. I gave a speech. It was to describe, honestly, it was to describe the wars the United States engaged in, the list of wars and covert operation.
Yeah.
If you write them in 9 point times Roman, single space, if you list them, it becomes 5 times longer than my middle finger in order to show them visually. That's the only time in my life I did it. You can watch it, it's there.
Yeah, you should send me the URL.
And meanwhile, I have a list of favorite films in my this site. If you are interested in that one, I picked a very good, about 140 some movies. Yeah, starting chronologically, I ordered them, but I picked very carefully.
Okay.
Yeah, not horror movies, not stupid adventure movies blowing up each other, but good movie, quality movies. Go ahead, yours.
My favorite movies? Oh, Master and Commander. So way up there.
Okay, Master Commander. Wow.
Mostly for its historical accuracy and its accuracy to the original book series.
I like that.
I
Wait,
appreciate it.
what is it?
Master and Commander.
Okay, Master and Commander. I watched it, but it didn't strike me that I didn't even put it among the 100. It didn't make it even 100.
I have a huge thing for tall ships, so anything that has a tall ship in it, I'm into.
Spatial interest.
Yeah.
And what else?
Other movies. Fists and Pockets, which is a really lesser-known Italian film.
Okay.
About an insane family. It's really beautifully made. That's why I like it so much. I love lots of movies.
Did you take a class from your father?
I cannot take a class from my father.
Aha! Well, this is conflict of interest, correct? But my son took a class from me when I was teaching at K-12, middle school. Should I tell you a story, story?
That's totally illegal.
Yeah. Well.
What? It's not.
But it was K-12. Come on. And let me tell you what I did to him. He was the best student I ever had, basically. He was very meticulous at home too. Working hard, work ethic stuff. And he's a student. And he got his grade book. And I see him at school. His face is kind of very upset. Oh my gosh, I said, most likely he got a C or B. And therefore I worried about him. I said, show me. He didn't want to show me, and I respect his privacy. I could go to the computer and check, but I respected. But later he showed me. I saw all of them A pluses. One of them was A, and it was the class I was teaching. That was the conflict of interest. It stopped me from giving plus to my son. Therefore, it is good not to take him, because in order to be very fair, he will give you a lower grade.
It's probably true.
Yeah, probably it is. Yeah, I did that way. Anyway, these are good people, at least the first meeting, but hopefully we may have another interview.
All
okay?
Right. Yeah.
Write your comments down there. Okay, do you have any...
No, it's good.
Okay.
It's all right.
Sit down there for a few
You're not in the
minutes.
camera frame.
Yeah, great. And do you have any recommendation to young people regarding education in general, not necessarily geology?
Yeah, I do.
What is it, if you have a few advice?
Get rid of your cell phone.
Aha, I say the same thing.
Number one, okay, or leave it someplace. Use it when you need it, but don't walk around like a zombie all the time. And work hard. Find out what you are interested in by experimenting a lot, and then once you figure it out, commit yourself to the mission of becoming an expert in that, and do it well. Live your life at the highest level you can.
Lovely.
Then you'll be happy.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.